Audible's romance collection has something to satisfy every side of you. When it comes to what kind of romance you're into, you don't have to choose just one. Fancy a dalliance with a duke, or maybe a steamy billionaire. You could find a book boyfriend in the city and another one tearing it up on the hockey field. And if nothing on this earth satisfies, you can always find love in another realm. Discover modern rom-coms from authors like Lily Chu and Ali Hazelwood, the latest romantasy series from Sarah J. Maas and Rebecca Yarros, plus Regency favorites like Bridgerton and Outlander. And of course, all the really steamy stuff. Your first great love story is free when you sign up for a free 30-day trial at audible.com/Wondery. That's audible.com/Wondery.
Hi, Leigh.
Hello, we are back again.
Here for another week of madness and deranged frivolity, I think.
Yeah, I should say, dear listener, I'm a little bit delirious because there was some pretty huge right-wing protests in London over the weekend, which really kind of felt like they took over the city in which I live, which was quite frightening. So I've never been happier to be diving back in time to the Bartlet administration.
Agreed. I think escapism at time of recording, the week of news that Leigh and I have been living through, and all of us on this little globe, has been like really bad.
Really bad. I mean, I'm very aware that we did the last study session at time of recording into what was kind of going on in the Epstein files, and that has just been all but erased from the news and had been by about 24 hours after we recorded that episode.
Yes.
I didn't think that was possible, that something else would come in that would so immediately kind of cleanse
the news
zeitgeist of what I considered to be one of the most impactful news stories of the Trump era. But alas, yet again, I was proven wrong.
I've never been one to indulge in conspiracy theories. However, what is perceived to be a conspiracy theory right now, I think has become quite a broad church. Would you agree? And so sometimes I'm like, am I indulging in a conspiracy theory, or is this just real life?
And that is all we will say about that.
And moving swiftly on. In other news, I've just had a really large, very hearty bowl of soup.
Oh, I love that for you. Welcoming in the autumnal season.
Yeah, it's sort of windy. It's grey. The sea wind was very bracing this morning as I walked the dog. I've just had a large bowl of soup. I'm kind of ready to dive into a 2001 revelry.
Yeah, I've just had some beans on toast, which I know will be baffling to our American listeners. But
look, hey guys, it's really good, okay? And like, say what you want. You can sit there on your high horse and talk about English food being disgusting, but don't take our beans. Okay, leave us the beans.
A huge, very important part of both my soul and my diet. Heinz
and
baked
culture,
beans.
Leigh, and culture,
and there is no better quick fix meal, and it's a nutritionally balanced meal. So I won't have a word said about it.
You're getting your vitamins. It's a great source of fiber.
Especially as a lifelong vegetarian.
Indeed, from the womb, in utero.
Shall we dive into this episode largely about submarines?
Yeah, we'll get to that. I've got, unsurprisingly, Leigh and I both have really strong opinions on submarines. Who knew? Welcome, listeners, to Queer Gals Watch the West Wing. We are here, season 3, episode 6, with the episode Gone Quiet. Leigh, shall I just jump into the recap?
Let's dive in.
The previously on... Straight in on Bruno and Connie. I will note just a distinct lack of Doug.
Which is distressing to me. I really need Evan Handler to be back in the mix because I really appreciate the out-Tobying Toby energy that he brought.
We also get some Stockard in there, which is inferring to me that we're building up for Abbey Bartlet to kind of have her own storyline this season, which would make sense seeing as she's no longer a guest starring. She's on opening credits.
Yes.
But we begin this episode in the sit room
with Nancy,
who I really love as a series regular.
I agree. I didn't know that anyone could kind of fill the shoes of Fitzy for me. But I've come to love and deeply care about Nancy and the deeply respectful will they, won't they energy that she and Leo bring to the fore. I'm absolutely obsessed with every single scene that John Spencer is in with Nancy. I really, really love that John Spencer is playing, I deeply respect this woman and thinks she's hot as fuck and I want her to know that. But I will only ever treat her with utter reverence. But at the same time, I do want her to know that I think she's really hot.
Yeah, but that is completely aside from her professionalism.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I love Nancy because she genuinely says calm down to a man, which I do enjoy.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
An icon, perhaps. And we find out that we've just lost a submarine.
Mm-hmm.
There's a kind of highly technical submarine somewhere near the coastline of North Korea, and we've just lost all comms.
Arguably the worst place in the world to lose comms.
Some might say. The idea of just losing a submarine, kind of terrifying. But I find submarines terrifying in general. As a concept, I think it's a horrible idea.
Yeah.
Boats are scary enough. Why are you going to put a lid on them and then put them under the sea?
As you know, I've been going through a quite deep dive into tasting history with Max Miller on YouTube. And he's done several on the food consumed by men on submarines during World War II. And the discussion of the kind of sauerkraut on German submarines in World War II, I just don't know that life would be worth living for me on a submarine.
I don't want to not be able to just get out.
No.
You know? And that for me is partly claustrophobia. But there's also an element of that of like I get anxious on airplanes after a while because I'm like aware I'm breathing in air that's already been breathed in. And then I get confused and then I start forgetting how to breathe.
Right.
I'm quite anxious. Did you know that?
She doesn't like a lift, ladies and gentlemen. She doesn't. She'll take the stairs.
I'd just rather walk. I'd rather be outside in the rain. I'd rather stand in the rain, Leigh, than be on a submarine. Like if I go on a ferry, if I'm on a boat, I would like to be outside. I just don't like, and maybe it's because I watched Titanic a lot as a child, but the concept of the water pouring in and like not being able to get out through the power of the water.
Yeah.
That's a fear. That's a genuine fear. I think about that daily. It's when they're like at the metal gates and like they can't get through. Air pressure. It honestly, the whole concept of a submarine is a nightmare. When we went on a school trip to look at a submarine once, and I was like, I'm sorry, I won't be attending. I don't think I'll be stepping on that. No.
I think all of this further goes to prove my point that I truly believe that in a previous life you were an air raid warden during the Blitz.
I want to be up. I want to be in the sky, Leigh, you know. Give me a big lamp and I will just light up that sky.
In the words of Ben Affleck in one of my all-time favourite films, Pearl Harbor, get me into a goddamn plane.
Going back to Nancy.
Yeah.
I feel like we haven't indulged enough in like Nancy's backstory. We know that she's a top tier professional, but we don't know her kind of personal status, like where she's from, her journey to her job. Is there anything to you, Leigh, that kind of like jumps out for you about Nancy in terms of a backstory?
Ooh, for me, I feel like I see West Point in her history.
Yeah.
All I can hear in my head, and I know that this is not strictly relevant, but all I can hear in my head in this moment is a single mom who works 2 jobs.
A bit of Reba, yeah.
Who loves her kids and never stops.
I would love to counter that. I have an offer. So, and this is just coming to me in the moment. You know how I am with these kinds of things. She's a storyteller. I think she has 2 siblings. I think she has an older brother and a younger sister.
Fine. Middle child.
I think that her father was in the military.
I see that. I do see that.
And I think that there was pressure on the older brother to follow in the footsteps of that. But he has gone into business. And she was like, no, father, I'm going to go to West Point. This wasn't expected. She's then sort of been a prodigy. Prodigy? Is that what I mean?
Progeny.
Yeah. And then while at West Point, met someone, got married very young, was like quite apart for a lot of their relationship because they were, you know, based at different parts of the world. The wedding, the marriage came to a natural end. It wasn't right. She didn't want to give up her career to be a mother. She was quite happy with the life that she was living. And so it was just a very amicable divorce.
And of course, we're just spitballing here.
And
we're just spitballing.
Just spitballing. This has just come to me in the moment, you know?
I really see that for her. I do see like a respectful, amicable divorce.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And now she's like, as we've said, she's not looking for anything serious.
A single woman in her power.
Yeah,
I love that.
Yeah. Should we to a Jed Charlie opener?
Please.
Because this is very silly.
It's very silly. He accuses Charlie of making a crack about his height. And then says, you think I'm not tall enough to get hit in the neck by one of the propellers on Marine One?
And Charlie puts up with so much shit from Jed. And also Jed is like, Martin Sheen's not a tall man.
No.
And I think I would get really frustrated if I was in Charlie's position because Charlie can't really give it back.
No.
Like he can give it back like a touch, like a twinkle. But you can't do that to the president. And we know that Charlie is great at one-liners because he does it with the rest of the gang. So Jed is trying to get onto Marine One because he's got to go to New Hampshire to register that he's going to run.
To get himself on the ballot in New Hampshire. Right. If you recall from our primary episode, what even is a primary? New Hampshire is the first state to have its primary. Hence why he has to go to his home state of New Hampshire.
Charlie's like, we could just send someone. Jed's very kind of driven to the idea that he needs to do it himself. And then they put their coats on. And Leigh, should we just talk about Charlie's coat?
Charlie is wearing that coat. He is wearing it. It's the like shoulder.
A strong shoulder. It's like what I call like a mid-calf length wool coat.
Black.
Yeah. But like almost with like a kind of like almost like a tonal grey through it as well. Really nice. Really gorgeous.
Really sharp.
Yeah. Martin Sheen puts on his suit jacket in a way I've never seen anyone put on a piece of clothing before. It's choreography.
There's something about this that the Wingnuts have told me, which is that, is it that Martin Sheen has one arm longer than the other? There's something specific about Martin Sheen as an actor that's the only way that he can put on a coat.
Oh, it's to like twirl it above his head?
Yeah.
Okay, amazing. Well, in that case, like I'm even more obsessed with it. I think it's amazing. Leo arrives to basically say, you can't get on Marine One because we've lost a submarine. And in Leo's words, he says, this is one of those things we've talked about that sounds way worse than it is because of your inexperience with the military, which is very much my partner trying not to stress me out about something that I have no control over and cannot fix. It's very that coded.
Just to say on our previous point that there is an entire Reddit thread dedicated to how Martin Sheen puts on jackets.
Excellent. I'll be taking a visit there.
It's apparently because he has a damaged shoulder due to complications during his birth.
Ah, what a fun personal fact.
Yeah.
But Leigh, the episode is now starting, and what in the world is happening? Because would you like to discuss CJ's opening scene?
I need to know why Too Sexy is playing immediately. My first immediate thought, of course, was that CJ was going to do another of her famous lip syncs.
Yeah.
But then I was also like, is this meta? And is this Aaron Sorkin making a joke about the fact that Alison Janney is too sexy?
Well, I mean, I would love for that to be true. For me, I think Right Said Fred, I'm too sexy is just another one of the ways in which Aaron Sorkin's like, I'm going to write this and I'm going to give it to Alison Janney and I'm going to see if she's like, no. It's the Jackal all over again, which is like him being like, no one would do that. Like, no actor's going to do this. I'll write it and Alison will go, I'm not doing it. And then Alison reads it and she's like, sure. And pulls it off. There is absolutely no rhyme or reason why Alison Janney kind of vibing to I'm too sexy behind her desk.
In the workplace. And
then for Carol to come in and be like, okay, are you okay, CJ? And CJ to be like, why is he so sexy? Why is he having such an issue with his clothes?
What does it mean to be too sexy? Is that a bad thing?
And Carol's just like, he's feeling good and that's why he's singing.
It is a stunning, stunning scene for Carol and CJ.
Yeah.
I love that we're getting more of them kind of being gal pals.
Yeah, me
season.
too.
Yeah.
I feel like we lost out a bit of time with Carol last season, and now I'm glad that she's coming back into the fold. And then we get news that someone has messed up, and I thought it was Buckland, but it's not. It's someone else, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So the information that she's getting isn't about Buckland, it's about the majority leader.
Yes.
Now, are we saying that that's the person who's tipped to be the in the race from the Republicans' perspective?
Yes.
Because the Republicans currently have the majority in the House at this time in the West Wing.
Yes.
Cool. So that's exciting for CJ because that is an absolute delectable day of press, quite frankly.
Because he's massively screwed up the question.
Yeah, he got asked, why do you want to be president? And essentially just couldn't answer it. More on that as we go on.
The writing of the bad answer to the question, and we just get more and more of it over the course of the episode. There's the writing of the word salad is so incredible.
It's so apt. Like, I really would love for it to have been pulled from like actual responses to that question historically. But we swing back to the sit room for another update with Nancy. Leigh, you logged that there was another woman at the table.
It is a different woman to the woman we noted previously. It's a white woman this time, but again, she does not speak.
Yeah, no speech from them, but one day, fingers crossed. Then I think our shared doc just had quite a lot of vitriol towards submarines from both of us.
And the fact that you could not pay me to ever get in a submarine, even as a kind of like experience for a day.
No, hateful. Hateful places. Awful. Hot. Stinky. Stinky.
Apparently, like they really struggle to keep everything from getting moldy. As someone who lives in a Victorian home, I can't deal with any stories of mold or damp.
No, it's too triggering.
It's too triggering.
Jed has arrived in the sit room and obviously is very stressed and is like, we've got to get our boys out of there. Let's send a rescue mission. Nancy's like, hold fast. I think they've gone quiet because I think they're worried that they're going to get found essentially by North Korea. And so they're just basically, they've just turned themselves dark and they should get back in contact. And Jed gives Nancy like 4 hours for the submarine to get back in touch.
There's also some discussion about the fact that people who go on to submarines are aware when they're doing it that if they get into trouble and they're sinking, that it will just be a recovery operation that the government does. There will be no rescue attempt.
Yeah, that's heavy as fuck.
So if you get on a submarine knowing that if you start sinking, in the words of Kesha, it's going down. I'm yelling timber. It's over.
It's over. Horrible. What a horrible. Like, do you know what? More power to the people who work on submarines. Good for you guys, because I couldn't do it.
I didn't mean that to be in any way disrespectful to anyone who has ever died on a submarine.
No.
I take Kesha very seriously.
Yeah, we mean it with complete reverence.
I'm just making jokes because I'm uncomfortable because that's so terrifying to me.
Yeah, literally like the scariest thing. I think in a previous life I drowned because I have such an intense fear of drowning.
Well, you know that there's famously a lot of Irish history about women simply letting the water take them.
I do feel that maybe happened to me in a previous life because I feel like I'm a very strong swimmer. I swim in the sea, but still, Leigh, I fear the power of the ocean.
As you should. As you should.
We all respect the sea, children. Respect the sea. Jed and Leo leave the sit room and we have an amazing conversation walking and talking, which is about the fact that we need to speak to someone called Albie Duncan. Great character name.
And very Sorkin.
Very Sorkin. And we should call him and not Peter, who's just had heart surgery, which again is just like a great and believable deep cut character choice for someone we never meet.
Yeah.
And they're like, Peter's just had a heart surgery. And you're like, yeah, because some dude who like works for the government of a certain age is going to have had heart surgery at some point.
Yeah.
And Jed doesn't want to speak to Albie because in Jed's words, he's going to scold me.
Yeah.
And it's good to know that Jed's worst nightmare, like me, is getting told off.
Yeah, and also that we're returning to the fact that military people don't hugely respect Jed Bartlet.
He's a books guy.
Yeah.
He loves Latin.
He does.
He's a nerd.
He is.
Yeah. But it's time for a campaign catch up, and we do a lovely handover to Bruno, where Jed's just
the walk and talks kind of cross over.
It's perfect. It's top tier West Wing.
It's top tier. And Jed, while he's feeling particularly kind of quippy, he's very quippy this episode.
Really,
as they walk past Bruno, because Leo's kind of annoying him by saying that he have to call in Albie, who he doesn't like, he then catches Bruno, Jed does, and says, "Hey Bruno, can you devise a campaign strategy that involves beating the crap out of Leo?"
Oh, to which Bruno sort of just like gives a look, which is, I'm very tired and I'm working very hard and I don't have time for your jokes.
But then I'm obsessed that it's Connie who actually answers. By being like, yeah, look into it, basically.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. I love Bruno, love Connie, really excited about spending more time with them. The fact that we go into a meeting with just those two makes me feel that we've lost Doug.
I know. But I did want to point out that I was watching this episode with Lizzie, my girlfriend, and she looked at Connie and she was like, "Oh my God, it's her." And I was like, I'm going to need more detail on that. But I do feel the need to go into very briefly the career of the actor who plays Connie, who was also incidentally called Connie.
Connie Britton. When she first came on, Leigh, I was like, she's an icon of TV and film. She's been in everything.
But I also didn't realize that she's like a country music girly.
She's like the lead in the TV show Nashville.
Wow.
Leigh, I implore you to get into some of her back catalogue because she's also in Spin City as well.
Wow.
Before this, yeah. She's so good. Also, she's an American Horror Story, sexy, scary TV, if you're ever interested. I just think she's great. And also, she's a fucking hot bitch. She's sexy as hell.
She's so hot.
And I think she's doing a lot with the character of Connie, which I feel at this point, and I think Aaron's got a ways to go with Connie, because at the moment, I think he's so concerned about not writing her like Mandy or Donna or Ainsley, that he's not quite sure who she is yet.
Yeah.
Like, she's smart and she's quippy and like she's quite smooth. But I think he's like, I don't know who I don't have enough types of women in my arsenal.
That's so real. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You know what? And neither did Hemingway. It's not an Aaron Sorkin specific problem.
It's not on Aaron. Also, any chance for Leigh to drag Hemingway is very good, very good. I love Bruno. I think I've decided I'm team Bruno now.
Yeah. Despite the sexism, the sexual harassment.
Sexual harassment aside, God, something I never thought I'd say. I love a man who's not subtle. And therefore, when he's just like stood above the table and just throwing leaflets at Sam Seaborn going, liberal, 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 liberal. It's very fun. It's very camp.
Yeah.
And basically, there's all of these flyers that are being posted around the place that Bruno's got his hands on, which are about kind of anti-Bartlet. And Bruno's like, we've got to do something about this. And Sam's like, well, we don't have enough money. We've only got X amount of money in like the campaign fund. And so Leigh, we're talking hard money, soft money, right?
We are indeed.
I got really excited because I was like, oh, I remember hard money, soft money. But then I was like, oh, the significance is soft money is sometimes not good because it's coming from kind of business, right? So like, you know, like Big Pharma could be like, hey, here's a load of money.
Yeah.
And then they got a bit more sway over you, right?
Yeah, so candidates can't take money directly from corporations, but corporations can give money to PACs, which represent corporations.
Cool.
And PACs can take out their own ads, and then so essentially you'll have heard a lot of chat about the fact that like Hillary Clinton famously took money from PACs, whereas someone like AOC was like, no, I'm a grassroots candidate. I'm not taking any money from PACs.
And I think the significance of this in this episode is, was it season 1 or season 2? Anyway, Bartlet basically is like quite anti-soft money. And there was a storyline, I can't remember the name of the episode, but about that. And so Sam's like, I get what you're saying, Bruno, but like, we can't exactly say we believe in one thing and then do exactly the opposite. So interesting storyline. The other storyline that kind of pings off out of this scene is that Toby has $105 million in the budget for national parks that he can't remember why it's there. And then he goes on a little walk and talk. And at one point on that walk and talk bumps into Ginger and has kind of the greatest moment ever, which is he's like, Ginger, why do I have $105 million for national parks? And she's like, I don't know.
I'm a simple girl, Toby.
I'm a simple girl, Toby. And then as he walks away, he's just like, yes, you are. But not in a rude way.
No.
It's just fantastic.
Yeah. Also, Ginger has like a kind of flicky blow dry in this episode, which is incredible. She's also wearing like a kind of powder blue pinstripe shirt with a skirt, and the outfit is perfection altogether.
It's very of the time. The kind of fitted pinstripe shirt, I think, really had a moment in the early 2000s as like office wear was like popping off in quite a
very
big
Rachel
way.
Green office wear. Yeah.
Bloomingdale's Rachel Green. We then have another insane moment with CJ where she's just wandering the halls paraphrasing I'm Too Sexy because the majority leader got asked this question and gave like the worst and most convoluted answer. And like she's just like brags about it to Toby and then just like leaves singing to herself.
I'm too sexy for my skirt.
Too sexy for this shirt. It's neither the like melody of the song nor the actual lyrics. And I think that's what I love most about it. But hello, Oliver Babbish.
Yeah. The moment I realized that we were going to get another Abby Oliver showdown, I was thrilled. I was also like, are we getting ready for Abby's deposition? Does this mean that we're going to have an episode that is Abby's deposition? Because I would die.
I do think we're gearing up for that.
Yeah.
I love that as he walks into the room, Stockard Channing's first line is, don't start with me, Oliver.
Start what?
All right, you want to give me grief about my ankle? Do it quickly. Get it over with so we can move on with this rectal probe.
I'm also dead because as she's saying that, they kind of pan out to reveal that Stockard Channing is in a plaster cast.
But thing is, so she's obviously like broken an ankle, but what they've done is put the whole of her leg in plaster and put her in. So she's sat in a wheelchair with like the leg up. So like she's not on crutches. She's just being sort of perambulated around. And so she looks great in this scene. But as we come back and forth to this scene through the episode, she looks more and more like kind of nuts, because I think like she becomes kind of more undone and crumpled as Oliver is like kind of basically cross-examining her. When pressed about how she broke her ankle, she says, "I was hiking, Oliver. I was hiking. Are you really that much of an enemy of nature?" To which Oliver says, the funniest thing ever. Please, Leigh.
Nature is to be protected from. Nature, like a woman, will seduce you with its sights and its scents and its touch, and then it breaks your ankle. Also, like a woman.
What happened to Oliver on a camping trip?
What happened to Oliver with women?
I feel like there was some reference to him being like multiple times divorced, right?
Yeah. The number of one-liners in this kind of ongoing exchange between Abby and Oliver throughout this episode is just, it's just brilliant.
So the reason why Oliver is kind of having this meeting with Abby is they're getting into, she's got, I think it's 5 malpractice suits against her. And basically, because she broke a lot of kind of like ethical codes and some like quite literal like laws. Laws. While treating Jed, Babbish is like, I think the focus of your deposition is going to be on the fact that like essentially you're a bad doctor and you try and get bad things covered up. That's what you've done throughout your career. And I think that's really, really interesting, because as Abby says, it's like it's hard to be a doctor for the amount of time that she's been a doctor and not have at least a couple of malpractice suits.
Yeah, especially in the United States. I think it's much easier to bring a suit in the United States than it would be, say, in the UK.
But let's go to a meeting that Toby is hating. Where we meet Tawny.
I wrote down Tawny, but was it not Tony?
I think it was Tony. Her name is, it sounds like they're saying Tony, but her name is Tawny.
Okay, interesting.
Like Tawny Owl.
Right.
That's what the credits say.
Fine.
But let's talk about Tawny.
Okay. She came prepared. And that I will respect. Her argument is abhorrent to me.
Yeah. It also feels like quite bleak in the day and age we're living in now as well.
Yeah. It's like, who the are you to judge what is art and what is not art?
So Tawny's come because basically she's part of the team that's decided that this $105 million is going to go to national park security as opposed to a kind of arts scheme that it's been used in
the
previously.
National Endowment for the Arts. Yeah.
That's the one. The NEA.
Yeah.
So she's basically like, let's not fund the NEA. Let's fund national park security.
Not even national parks. Security for the national parks.
And look, we know that Toby's not the sort of guy who's wandering around a gallery on a weekend.
He's also like not buying a ticket to 6. Do you know what I mean?
Do you know what I mean? He literally says in this scene, by and large, I'm not wild about musicals.
And I respect that as a position.
What we love is when people are like, I know what I don't like, but you go ahead and like it. It's got nothing to do with me. It seems that Tawny's kind of approach is just to cite quite bonkers performance art and then kind of shrug and be like, do you think that sounds good? You paid for it, which isn't really a very sound argument to me.
And actually, I think Toby goes on to say that none of those projects actually received funding directly from the NEA. Now, have I in my time engaged in some eye rolling at performance art?
Oh,
Yes.
Leigh, haven't we all?
Yes, I have.
Mm-hmm.
But in the words of a dead man, I may not agree with what you say, but I will defend to the death your right to say it.
A particular dead man? Should I know who that dead man is?
It's one of them. One of the big ones.
One of the big guys.
Maybe like Benjamin Franklin, like someone like that.
Yeah. Someone who's on a coin of some kind, you know?
Oh, Voltaire. I apologize, Voltaire. Maybe Benjamin Franklin just also quoted it once.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
My favorite kind of quippy moment in this scene was Sam coming in to kind of hustle Toby a bit because he needs Toby in this meeting with Bruno. And Tawny's like, have you heard of Andrew Hawkins? And Sam's like, no. You funded his performance piece recently where he destroyed all of his belongings outside of a Starbucks in Haight-Ashbury. And then Rob Lowe, completely straight-faced, just goes, I've done that a couple of times. I wasn't aware there was funding available.
Which to me is a deep cut to the breakup of his relationship with his fiancée.
Yeah.
That we still are none the wiser as to how that went down.
The broken off, engagement. I
need to know what happened.
But sometimes I forget and then I'm like, he was engaged.
Was Sam Seaborn left at the altar? I need to know.
Who left who?
Yeah.
Right. Let's go back to the Babbish and Abbey scene.
Mm-hmm.
I think it is pure class from Babbish that he's like, this is 100% the route they're going to go down.
Mm-hmm.
And Abby's back is so up against it. You can tell, you can understand why she's like, yeah, but the thing is, I'm not a bad doctor.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But you can understand why it's so insulting to her, this line of questioning.
Mm-hmm.
But they're gonna go low.
Yeah.
And also the more her back is up, because I do think that Abby's a very passionate person, I do think that they'll be looking to exploit that.
Yeah.
I do think though, although she's obviously very frustrated, she did break a bunch of ethical and legal rules by treating her husband, and she didn't keep any medical records of it. I don't know how she didn't think that was going to come back at some point.
It's very Edith Wilson.
Do you think Aaron did make a choice to kind of parallel another first lady?
I think so. I think there was definitely, also, Edith Wilson famously was quite a fiery first lady. I think for sure there's no way that there wasn't some inspiration taken.
And going back to kind of her slowly disheveled look, she is in a kind of a purple number with a kind of smoky eye, lots of lower lid eyeliner, big blow dry. They've very much gone in an Elizabeth Taylor kind of direction again, I think.
For sure. Yeah. Definitely.
Which again kind of speaks to the sort of firecracker wife, not backing down, just being kind of glam and messy.
Yeah.
Speaking of glam and messy, should we meet Albie?
Please. I was obsessed with him from his opening line and his dicky bow.
I think that this actor came in and absolutely slayed this performance.
Yeah. I just also love nothing more than Jed interacting with someone he doesn't like.
He can't bear it. He literally can't bear it, and it's phenomenal.
Albie just walks into the Oval Office and says, "What have you done?"
Yeah.
And it's so mother and eldest daughter coded.
It's very good. And then Albie just stops talking to Jed, the president of the United States, and just directs all of his questions to Leo, to which Jed just goes, okay, I'll just stand over there. And just walks across the office and just looks out the window.
Oh, it's so good.
Then we have to kind of, and I'm with Jed, we suffer through Albie just sitting down and quoting all of the times that submarines have gone missing and how bad it was. Oh yeah, Leigh wrote down about a quip from Jed just being a little thing called Latin.
It's so camp.
Very good. But our countdown clock is that we've got 3 hours to go before we will be enacting rescue mission. But we should meet Josh Lyman for the first time this episode.
20 minutes in is crazy.
Yeah.
And we're finally seeing him. Now, this I was obsessed with. It would appear that Donna has had a run-in with some seniors.
Yeah.
Whom she
on a tour?
called the police on.
It was kind of unclear what happened, whether she was in the West Wing or not when this had happened, but it seemed like it was like a coach load of seniors.
Yeah. Also, there is very much an energy between Josh and Donna in the wake of
The diary.
And
do you think that energy is because Josh is like, I didn't read it and I want to, but I also don't want to because it's going to tell me loads of stuff I don't want to know.
Yeah.
But also, I also don't know what he's read and what Cliff's going to come back with.
Yeah. And I also think this whole incident with the seniors has happened because Donna's sanity is hanging by a thread.
Unspooling, if you will.
And she is actively unspooling.
Yeah. CJ pops by to share in the joy of the majority leader's bad response again. And I really loved this from you, Leigh, because you nailed it, what her energy is.
It's essentially the energy of me when I'm going around each of my friends telling them the same piece of gossip and really relishing telling it to each person.
And kind of each time, like, it becomes slightly more performative as you kind of ease into the role of... town crier.
Oh my God, I am town crier of the friendship group. I am.
And you do it so well, Leigh.
Thank you.
What I am scared about is CJ's like, and obviously, Josh, you have a prepared answer for when Jed gets asked that question.
For when Jed gets asked, why do you want to be president?
And
I fear
Josh
there is
like,
no answer.
Josh is like, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. And I think we should all be worried about that.
Deeply.
But let's go back to Toby and Tawny.
I can't with Tawny.
She simply says, Toby, do you like this stuff? In reference to art that she doesn't like.
I find Tawny's argument increasingly grating.
It's very interesting that they've chosen to make this a storyline.
Yeah.
But like the idea that like, is it any of the government's business what makes art?
Yeah.
And like what art is worthy of money and what isn't. I find that to be a really interesting kind of topic for the showrunners to be raising.
Yeah. It really viscerally brought me back to when a particular individual who will not be named was sat on my sofa saying, I just don't really like comedy. I just kind of prefer, if I'm going to watch something, for it to kind of have meaning and importance.
Yeah.
And I was like, my entire life's work is trying to say serious things through the mode of comedy because laughter is the best medicine, and often people will take in a deeper political message when they've been allowed to be entertained beforehand, but fine. But that's my own personal issue.
But that in itself is so interesting because like right now, I really think that like there are a lot of comedians in the UK and definitely across America who need to be held accountable for the fact that they have perpetuated pretty radical right-wing opinions by making like members of minority groups the butt of their jokes for the last 40 years.
And we're actually going to get into that in the study session later.
Are we?
A little bit, yeah.
Stunning. Yeah. So I think the government deciding what is and what isn't art is extremely icky. And I kind of enjoy that I don't like Tawny, and I enjoy that Toby doesn't like Tawny, but Toby's like, I don't have an answer, bud. We just need to give people money to do stuff. Like, let people be people. And then he just, as he leaves the meeting, he just sort of makes some grunting noises. Like there's no verbalizing at the end of the meeting. He just sort of grunts as he leaves. But back to soft money. And a very interesting point from Bruno, because Sam's very much like, no soft money, Jed won't go for it, we can't do that. And Bruno goes on a bit of a rant and he ends it with, I think we should run in the same election as everyone else.
Which is so prophetic of the ultimate failure of the when they go low democratic doctrine.
Yeah, because I do think the writing of Bruno is like getting stronger to me as a viewer, because at the start I was like, why? He's so like grumpy and annoying. Why is he here? And now I'm like, oh, he's the person who's like, we can't be holier than thou.
He's the pragmatist. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is really great because we don't have that character in our group.
No. Yeah.
He's serving a purpose that no one else serves. Which begs the question, Leigh, do you think Jed should use soft money?
I mean, if we're understanding that we are in a political reality in which campaign finance is out of control, I love that AOC is not beholden to corporations.
Yeah.
But potentially a run for president is different.
It's so tough, isn't it?
Yeah.
Should we just go to some boys talking about war?
Just chatting about war.
Because we're in the Oval Office and Albie and Leo are just still sat opposite each other on sofas.
We are about to get to my all-time favorite moment ever in the West Wing.
I would agree. And Albie's kind of still, it's almost like he's in a trance state. He's just like kind of spouting facts from past military action, whilst Leo kind of nods and listens. Meanwhile, all Jed wants to do is talk about books in national parks. and the camera pans from Leo and Albie to the desk in the Oval Office.
And Jed banging his head against it.
And they stop talking, and then he lifts his head up and he goes, "Oh God, I'm so sorry. Am I still here?"
Which is then almost immediately followed by Josh walking into the Oval Office, and what I think is a very smart move of Albie immediately calling him Joshua, which we've only ever seen CJ do kind of in jest.
Yeah. Well, his name is Joshua Lyman, and so Albie would be using his full name, despite the fact that Albie himself obviously has an abbreviated name. Because I'm assuming his name is Albert. Or Alberforth.
Whoa.
Which would be crazy, right? Josh has arrived because he just wants to prompt Jed that the majority leader answered the question, did really badly, and just like, hey, just a heads up, like, do you have an answer? And Jed's sort of like, he says something quippy. I think he says, I don't want to.
Yeah.
When they're like, why do you want to be president? And he goes, oh, I don't want to. I think referencing his unpleasant day with Albie. And then we go to the gang, CJ and Josh formulating the answer.
Together with Donna taking notes.
This is in CJ's office. CJ's behind her desk. Donna is at a chair. She has a notebook. She's taking notes. And Leigh, where is Joshua Lyman?
Kind of splayed across the sofa.
In CJ's office.
In full repose.
Yeah, like with his like head in his hands, like, God, this is like really taking something from me. And they what they're putting together isn't great.
No, I think we're overcooking it. We're overcomplicating the why does Jed want to be president question.
Yeah. So we'll see how that develops in episodes to come, I think, because I feel like we will see him answer that question. Just a small moment of conjecture in the kind of Toby Art story, with his sign off with Tawny, which is none of these guys are Da Vinci or Shakespeare. And she says you. And then she's like, oh, I'll basically drop this and give the money back to the NEA if you get rid of Oakenwood.
The director of the NEA.
Right. So she doesn't like her, or her people don't like Oakenwood. And so that's how politics is going to work. That, you know, the NEA won't be defunded, but someone will get fired.
Yeah.
Sigh. And we just round off our Babbish and Abbey storyline. With like Oliver Babbish kind of telling Abbey off.
Yeah, but also it's extremely prophetic. What he says is, You broke some laws, Abbey, and quite frankly, you should be ashamed of yourself. But this investigation isn't about that. It's about the criminalization of politics, an attempt to do in the hearing room what we couldn't do at the ballot box.
It's so good because he's nailed it, right?
He has nailed it. How did he know what was going to happen in the next 25 years of politics?
Yeah. Aaron Sorkin and his time-traveling powers.
Scary.
It's a really great scene. And also, like, the two actors are just performing, like, phenomenally.
Yeah.
And the fact that, like, Abbey is in a kind of, like, Rear Window-esque broken leg situation is, like, in no way detracts.
Oh my God, I wonder if that's a reference.
Oh, do you think? That could be fun, couldn't it? Like a sort of Jimmy Stewart moment for Stockard Channing.
Yeah.
Should we tie off the knot with soft money for this episode?
Yes.
Because I love how this ends up.
Yeah. Just a quick fashion note. Connie's wearing a white blouse and a black wide leg trouser, and it is workplace glamour.
Yeah, she's a knockout.
She is, yeah.
But it's a very casual, it's very CJ in energy,
You
know? Like, it's very like, I have a certain number of slacks. I have a certain number of shirts. I grab some combination every morning. Bruno cracks out this. We all need some therapy because somebody came along and said liberal means soft on crime, soft on drugs, soft on communism, soft on defense. And we're going to tax you back to the Stone Age because people shouldn't have to go to work if they don't want to. And instead of saying, well, excuse me, you right-wing, reactionary, xenophobic, homophobic, anti-education, anti-choice, pro-gun, leave it to Beaver, trip back to the 50s, we cowered in the corner and said, please don't hurt me.
Didn't see a shout out for the gays coming from Bruno.
No. But I think he is, like you say, building on that, like, when they go low, we go high energy. And I think he's like, in the wake of what the Bartlet administration is suffering since the Jed's MS diagnosis reveal, he's like, I don't think we can do that because we've already proved that we're not holier than thou because he lied.
Yeah. He lied also is very specific to write into such a major storyline in 2001 about a Democratic president.
And you know, when you're like, back then, that was so salacious and honestly, a drop in the ocean.
A drop in the fucking ocean.
But I mean, also contextually that we know of, because that also could be a much deeper well than we know if these Epstein files are ever released.
Well,
there may be more to come about that particular previous president and his sexual escapades. Anyways, we close out in the Oval. Albie is still kind of going.
Poor Jed has been stuck in his office with him all afternoon.
But the news has just come through from Nancy that the submarine is back. And okay, and they were just like gone quiet. They had just like turned off all comms just to not get detected. And we were right to trust the captain of the submarine. And we finished with CJ and Jed about the question. Can you answer it?
Why do I want to be president?
Yeah.
I've been thinking about it for the last couple of hours. I almost had it.
And that's, Leigh, that's how the episode ends?
It's a deeply jarring end to the episode.
Whoa, like, because normally we have like a little Jed round-off, right?
We have a little like topper on the end, a little like extra little punchline to get us out.
Because so often our what made me prouder to be an American is like the final line of the episode.
That's so true, yeah.
Not this time.
Not this time. Maybe this time. No, I can't.
Okay, we shouldn't do that, no. To the quick fire?
What can I say? I just have that show on the brain at the moment because it's all feeling a little dystopian. It's all feeling a little Germany, 1930. Anyway, let's move on to best fashion.
I think that we do need to give some time and energy to Abbey Bartlet and her massive hair.
That deserves some commotion for sure. The hair is huge. I also feel like maybe me and Stockard Channing have quite similar hair texture, because I feel like that's exactly the type of volume that I feel I've been fighting against all my life.
Yes.
But I appreciate that she just she sees it and she leans in. I also need some commotion for Charlie in his coat.
Yes.
Just a young man in a wool coat. Never misses with me.
And Leigh, we've discussed this for years, which is
so true.
A young man of a certain age should be investing in a good quality coat and a good quality pair of formal shoes.
Mm-hmm.
And for the love of God, a proper belt.
Yeah.
Get those things in line, gents.
Yeah.
Honestly, that like when Leigh and I were in our early 20s and Leigh was still pursuing men, which was a journey that you were on, and that's fine and very valid. And I was kind of hopeful that something good would happen romantically for me. We went on some dates with men who wore terrible shoes.
Such terrible shoes.
And we would sit and debrief these dates. And more often than not, the conclusion would be, I can't trust a man who comes to a first date wearing a battered orthopedic trainer.
It actually it kind of triggers my gag reflex a little bit. I think also the problem was that in a kind of classic early 20s, closeted kind of lost spiritually mode, I was also kind of dating older than me. And so it was men who in 2015 were both in their 30s and dating someone who very clearly was not.
Yeah, which really says all we need to know about the quality of men involved. We wish them well. We wish them well.
Well, some of them.
Maybe not all of them.
Some of them, yeah.
What could a British or Irish politician never get away with?
Talking quite so much about the Romans.
Yeah. I think just like talking fondly of past military action.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's just a no.
No, yeah.
I mean, maybe not for the Irish, though, because more often than not, it was them fighting for their independence, which actually is kind of rock and roll.
Yeah.
Maybe less shame than the Brits would have, I would say.
Yeah.
Queerest moment that never intended to be queer?
I think also we could add the discussion of the Romans to this point.
Agreed, yeah.
And also I think there is a kind of homoerotic charge to Albie and Jed's hatred of each other for me.
Truly, and also just kind of, when there's like two quite big names in like a particular like queer scene, and just people like, well, they just don't get on.
Much like two kind of rival drag queens.
Yes. And you'll get to a night and you're like they'll both have been booked on the same lineup, and suddenly there's lots of hushed conversations being like, but like, how are they going to respond? Because like so and so's on first and then so and so's on after them, and like we didn't think about that, and like actually like are they even going to be in the same green room, because we know that they just like don't get on, but no one's quite sure like if anything's ever happened. They just don't like each other.
Yeah,
there's no actual beef. Best writerly moment?
You broke some laws, Abby, and quite frankly, you should be ashamed of yourself. But this investigation isn't about that. It's about the criminalization of politics, an attempt to do in the hearing room what they couldn't do at the ballot box.
Great. You've gone high with that, and I'm going to go low with, by and large, I'm not wild about musicals. Man, I feel like a man.
Hey, Bruno, can you devise a campaign strategy that involves beating the crap out of Leo?
Very good. I just think my man, I feel like a man, is Josh on CJ's couch dictating to Donna.
Truly.
But also an honourable mention to Oliver Babbish with, nature is to be protected from. Nature, like a woman, will seduce you with its sights, its scents, and its touch, and then it breaks your ankle. Also like a woman. And Leigh, what was the moment that made you proudest to be an American?
The look of joy on Sam Seaborn's face as he sits down to write something that he actually believes in.
Yeah. That's a nice one to end on.
Yeah.
Okay, what are we learning about this weekly?
So, this is actually a listener request from one of our patrons.
Ooh.
I was having a chat on our Discord community with some of our patrons the other day about what their study session requests might be for the upcoming season. And David on Patreon requested this. And then I suddenly thought, ooh, I would love to do that because I have a lot of time for the person that we're going to be discussing today.
Tell me more.
And that is Monica Lewinsky.
Yes. Okay, let's go.
Yeah. So she has been described by Dana Bash, who's chief political correspondent for CNN. And I think this is a really interesting way of recontextualizing her as the patient zero 20 years before the Me Too movement.
Ooh.
Monica Lewinsky, in an article for Vanity Fair in 2018, wrote herself, "As a society, we went through this together, and ever since the scandal has had an epigenetic quality, as if our cultural DNA has slowly been altered to ensure its longevity. If you can believe it, there has been at least one significant reference in the press to that unfortunate spell in our history every day for the past 20 years. Every single day."
She's not wrong.
She's not wrong. Now, the reason why lovely David on Patreon suggested this was because the investigation into what was originally the Whitewater scandal before the story of Monica Lewinsky was uncovered by it was the only special counsel investigation contemporary to the time that the West Wing was being made.
Okay, cool. Yeah, no, that makes sense.
So I think, given that what Abbey is going through is the prep for her deposition for a similar investigation, I think it's interesting to look at because we're talking about ultimately the president's personal life and how the personal becomes political in both cases.
Yes.
And there's no way that the story of Monica Lewinsky didn't inform everything that's written into the West Wing because it was the biggest news story of 1998 and arguably 1999. Dana Bash was already working in the news industry when this happened. She's now obviously chief political correspondent for CNN. But she talks about how it was such uncharted territory when the Monica Lewinsky scandal first broke because the journalists who were covering this story didn't even know how to say the things that they needed to on television.
Yeah, for sure. Because there's no frame of reference.
They didn't know how to describe it. There's several news articles where on the news they're saying if you have a child watching, you might want to turn it off. And obviously, I think it cannot be underestimated for you and I who were babies when this was happening. Yeah. I think it's really hard for us to contextualize how shocking this was 27 years ago.
Yeah.
And then Dana Bash goes on to make a really interesting point where she says, the focus was on the president. His defenders were on his critics, and Monica Lewinsky was just caught up in it. Nobody took a step back, nobody, and said, wait a minute, what about this young girl? There's no question that Monica Lewinsky was described the way women have been described for generations and for centuries when it comes to powerful men. She was described based on her looks, based on her actions, as a floozy, as a slut, as somebody who was not thin. That was very typical for 1998. It's not that different now, except, and we've seen in more recent times in the Me Too movement, that she would have been more respected. I really believe that. And she was so disrespected.
Yeah. I mean, I think because it was a new, like you say, a new news story in that nothing like that had ever been covered before. At no point was anyone sitting down and thinking about the mental health of that young woman.
No.
Everyone was like, this is the most salacious news story about a president that has been confirmed and that we can report on. And so I think there's no way that it wasn't like chum in the water and the sharks circling around. It's like, well, we want to get the most views. We want to get the best ratings for our news show. No one was thinking about protecting her in any way.
No. And I think what's really interesting, I'm going to start with just kind of a overview of what the world was saying in 1998 when this news story broke. So to contextualize, Bill Clinton was president of the United States, an incredibly charismatic Democratic president. He also was really vigorously defended by liberal women when his cheating scandal broke, because he supported abortion rights, because he supported family leave policies, and he supported women's issues, basically. And Dana Bash goes on to say, I think a lot of women fail to see that there was something more than just the policies. There are women who are in these individual situations who also need to be defended and protected. So we have these feminists and women's rights activists are actually the ones defending Bill Clinton and not defending the woman in the situation because of the work that Bill Clinton is doing on women's issues. Needless to say, Monica Lewinsky, who was all but 22 when she first met Bill Clinton, became the punchline of every stand-up. And if we're talking about stand-up in the 90s, we're talking about men. There's a clip where Larry King asks Jon Stewart, why is this funny? And Jon Stewart says, no one gets hurt.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh dear. I wonder how he would feel if he was shown that clip now.
I'd be really interested. Yeah. She was also featured on things like game shows. There was a question on a game show, a clip that I saw, where they're discussing possible first lines for Monica Lewinsky's book. And the top ones are, me and my big mouth. By the time you read this, I'll be on to my next president. Does this font make me look fat?
That's insane.
The amount of commentary about Monica Lewinsky's weight is mad. And I'm not going to repeat any of it, but it's mental. In March 1999, Monica Lewinsky kind of tried to take the narrative back by doing an interview with Barbara Walters. Barbara Walters, I will take issue with some of the questions that she asked. One of the questions she asked was, where was your self-respect?
Whoa.
Yeah. But a Gallup poll in 1999 after that interview came back with CNN reporting, if Monica Lewinsky was hoping to begin to rebuild her image with this week's 2-hour TV interview, she has a long way to go, judging from the results of the new CNN Gallup poll. One of the questions on this Gallup poll was, do you think each of the following words and phrases which some people have used to describe Monica Lewinsky apply or do not apply to her? 77% of Americans said yes to the word immature. 58% said yes to the word shameless. 56% said yes to the word seductress. And the other words that they polled were believable, pretty, bimbo, stalker, victim. And only 25% of people said yes to victim.
It's remarkable, isn't it, that like no one was discussing the power imbalance at all.
When asked, do you feel sympathetic towards Monica Lewinsky, 25% of people said yes, 70% of Americans said no, 70. This girl was 25 when this news story broke.
Yeah.
When asked, will Monica Lewinsky ever lead a normal life, 38% said yes, 60% said no. And they were obviously correct. But the fact that the American public was so comfortable with
being like, this woman deserves to have her life ruined, is what they were saying.
Forever. She doesn't deserve the redemption arc that Bill Clinton is going to get. They were also, the Gallup poll also asked, if Monica Lewinsky knew for certain she could have an affair with a married man again and get away with it, do you think she would do it or not do it? 75% of American people said they thought she'd have another affair with a married man if she knew she could get away with it. 20% said no.
Oh my God. Also, it's insane that like a Gallup poll would be asking these kinds of questions.
The questions themselves are mad.
Yeah.
Anyway, so what exactly happened? In June 1995, Monica Lewinsky moves to Washington, D.C. as a 21-year-old recent college graduate to do an unpaid internship in the office of Bill Clinton's chief of staff, Leon Panetta, which she got through the help of a family connection. She's from quite a kind of affluent California family. And she's talked a lot about how she struggled with her weight all of her youth growing up. and how that didn't feel acceptable in LA in the 90s.
Yeah, I can bet.
And so she's talked herself about how she struggled with her self-confidence and her self-worth because of her weight for her kind of adolescence. One of the reasons why I think the question on the Gallup poll was asked about whether she would have another affair with a married man. When the news story with Bill Clinton first broke, another married man who she'd had an affair with came forward and spoke out against her.
Right.
Now, when I first read about this, I had immediate question marks because this story obviously broke when she was 25. She'd apparently had a 2-year affair with Bill Clinton from when she was 22. And this previous married man is saying that she had had an affair with him for 5 years prior to that.
Right. Okay. But that's timing-wise doesn't really work out, does it?
Because he worked at her high school.
Right.
And he seemingly has faced no criticism for the fact that she was a high school student when that affair began. And if anything, it was just more damning for Monica Lewinsky in the press. But you can see how, I think, to my eyes, there's no way that situation when he was working in her high school and she was a high school student wasn't grooming.
Yeah.
She then gets the internship in Washington, D.C., where she's already, in my mind, been victimized by someone in a position of authority as a high school student. There's already trauma there before she even meets Bill Clinton.
Yeah.
Speaking more recently, Monica Lewinsky herself described, how on earth did this happen? A sexual harassment case brought against a sitting president by someone else, not me. So this actually all begins with Paula Jones, who was Bill Clinton's first accuser for sexual harassment. She claimed that Bill Clinton had sexually assaulted her in a hotel room in 1991 when he was Arkansas governor. And she was working for the Arkansas state government. And she filed a civil lawsuit accusing him of sexual harassment and civil rights violations. A conservative legal group volunteered to fund Paula Jones's lawsuit against Bill Clinton. By the time it was underway, he was already president. And that conservative legal group got an anonymous tip that he had had an affair with Monica Lewinsky when she was an intern in the White House, in the West Wing, I should say. And they subpoenaed Monica Lewinsky in hopes of arguing that this is a pattern of behavior for Bill Clinton. Monica Lewinsky, again, as a 24-year-old at this point, on January 7th, 1998, signs an affidavit in that lawsuit saying that she never had a sexual relationship with Bill Clinton.
Right.
Which brings us to Ken Starr. Ken Starr had been named to the Federal Court of Appeals by President Reagan and is a well-renowned conservative judge in Washington, D.C. by 1998. He also was Solicitor General under George Bush Sr. And at this point in his career, some people were saying this guy is going to be a Supreme Court justice one day.
Right.
He is hired as the independent counsel by the Attorney General to look into the Whitewater scandal, which was looking into allegations of fraud surrounding the Clintons and their real estate investments in Arkansas. There were 14 possible criminal convictions related to the Whitewater case. The Clintons denied any wrongdoing. They were never charged. But because the Attorney General is a presidential appointee, Ken Starr is hired as independent counsel to look into this so that there's no possibility of a conflict of interest.
Right. Okay.
Ken Starr has said of this appointment, "I knew it was a thankless task. Investigating a very charismatic and popular president of the United States is not a resume-enhancing experience."
No.
he went on to reflect later, I think the American people fail to appreciate that there was significant criminality in Arkansas. It was simply too easy to accept the proposition that was demonstrably false, that the investigation, in quote, found nothing in Arkansas, and then began investigating a personal relationship. Now, the independent counsel statute, it doesn't really exist anymore, but it has since become what we would now call a special counsel. So things like the Robert Mueller investigation into Russia's interference in the election was a similar setup. Robert Hur investigating Joe Biden's handling of classified documents. So there have been these types of investigations throughout kind of modern history. And what makes it different to any kind of investigation under the justice branch is that, and under the independent counsel statute, there's a reporting function. So it's not just about filing criminal indictments, it's about reporting to both Congress and the American people what has happened.
Mm-hmm.
Hence, we have things like the Mueller report getting released, which describes how Russia interfered in the election.
Right.
Ken Starr says, you are targeting one individual and you were to find out every fact that might be relevant to whether a crime was committed. This is very, very unusual and potentially quite dangerous, because independent counsel, or special counsel as we now refer to it, is operating kind of separate to the Justice Department because it has to be independent of the Justice Department.
Right.
But so it's kind of operating in its own weird island.
Yeah.
But how does this end up getting connected? How does allegations of fraud in a real estate investment in Arkansas lead to the president being investigated for an extramarital affair? Well, on the 12th of January, Linda Tripp, who was a friend of Monica Lewinsky's and kind of like a work mentor, they'd become close friends in 1996 when they worked in the Pentagon's Public Affairs Office. And Monica Lewinsky had confided in Linda Tripp about the affair with President Clinton. Linda Tripp has recorded 20 hours of phone conversations between herself and Monica Lewinsky.
Oh.
And she tells Ken Starr, when she is deposed in the Whitewater investigation, that Monica Lewinsky has lied in that affidavit.
Yeah.
And has encouraged Linda Tripp to do the same.
Right.
Barack Goodman, who's a filmmaker, was interviewing Ken Starr in 2012 for a documentary for PBS, American Experience Biography of Bill Clinton. And he asked Ken Starr in 2012, so this originally comes to your attention through Linda Tripp, as I understand it, that she came to your office with a story. If you could clarify for people, because I think there's a lot of misunderstanding about this, what was her story? What originally caused your office to consider it worth pursuing? What was relevant? And Ken Starr responds by saying, well, this particular witness, in terms of the last phase of the investigation, was known to our office. Ms. Tripp was working in the White House counsel's office. She apparently was a valued employee. She then goes over to the Defense Department, to the Pentagon, and it's there she becomes friends with Ms. Lewinsky, who had previously, of course, served at the White House. We had no reason whatever to question the veracity of this witness. We listened and tried to assess the information when it comes to us. There were suggestions that there may have been very serious criminal offenses that were committed and were in the process of being committed. And so as good prosecutors, we immediately tried to reach the Attorney General of the United States, and we did the next day. Goodman then responds by asking, you talk about certain serious criminal matters, and that's what I want to clarify for people, because people tend to think this is about an affair. What were the criminal matters that you were concerned about? And Ken Starr responds by saying, there were suggestions, and I simply want to put it as suggestions, that were brought to the attention of the Deputy Attorney General that perjury had been and was being committed in the course of a civil case pending in the Eastern District of Arkansas.
Right.
And basically, in the 20 hours of phone conversations that Linda Tripp passed on to Ken Starr, Monica Lewinsky makes it clear that she's filed a perjurious affidavit, and she wants Linda Tripp to do the same thing. And so Linda Tripp is therefore being asked to participate in a crime. Now, he receives this prior to Bill Clinton giving his deposition in the Paula Jones case.
Okay.
Linda Tripp says, Bill Clinton is also going to lie.
Yeah.
Ken Starr keeps the revelation from Linda Tripp secret and just basically waits to see what Bill Clinton is going to do, knowing full well that he has the evidence from Monica Lewinsky through Linda Tripp that he's lying if he says there was no sexual relationship with Monica Lewinsky.
Yeah.
So some Democrats have said that essentially Ken Starr was laying a perjury trap for Bill Clinton. But you can also make the call that Bill Clinton chose to lie.
Yeah.
Regardless of what evidence Ken Starr had or did not have.
Yeah.
Starr said his destiny was in his own hands. Bill Clinton should have settled the case. This entire attitude was one, I believe, of contempt for the rule of law. Which leads to the 13th of January, 1998, when Monica Lewinsky believes she's going to the mall to meet her friend Linda Tripp. But Linda Tripp has been secretly wired by FBI agents on Ken Starr's orders.
Wow.
There's a Ritz-Carlton hotel associated with the mall, and essentially it's a sting operation. And Monica Lewinsky ends up, again, at 24 years old, in a hotel room with a load of FBI agents who are telling her she could face 27 years in prison for
the
perjuring herself.
Uh-huh.
So we've got to imagine, right? We've got Abbey Bartlet in the West Wing being prepped by Oliver Babbish to say, this is how you avoid being the scapegoat in this investigation. Monica Lewinsky is entirely alone.
Yeah.
She doesn't have an Oliver Babbish there being like, this is how we need to prep.
Yeah, that's absolutely terrifying.
Writing in Vanity Fair in 2014, Monica Lewinsky says, at age 24, cornered in a hotel room on the 16th of January, 1998, with mainly male interrogators taking orders from Starr, I was discouraged from contacting my attorney and threatened with 27 years in jail for filing an affidavit denying the affair with Clinton, among other alleged crimes. I was offered immunity from that threat if I agreed to place monitored calls and wear a wire in conversations with two of the president's confidants and possibly the president himself. I refused. On January 26th, 1998, Bill Clinton famously goes on the news and says, I did not have sexual relations with that woman, Miss Lewinsky. These allegations are false and I need to go back to work for the American people. Monica Lewinsky reflects on that, writing in 2014. So far, that woman has never been able to escape the shadow of that first depiction. I was the unstable stalker, a phrase disseminated by the Clinton White House, the dimwit floozy, the poor innocent who didn't know any better. The Clinton administration, the special prosecutor's minions, the political operatives on both sides of the aisle and the media were able to brand me. And that brand stuck, in part because it was imbued with power. I became a social representation, a social canvas on which anybody could project their confusion about women, sex, infidelity, politics, and body issues. Unlike the other parties involved, I was so young that I had no established identity to which I could return. I didn't let this define me. I simply hadn't had the life experience to establish my own identity in 1998.
Yeah.
And like that phrase, I didn't have sex with that woman, has been so often caricatured and mocked.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because I think we really need to establish who the butt of that joke is when we're joking about that famous line from Bill Clinton.
Yeah.
Because I don't think we're actually laughing at Bill Clinton.
No.
We're laughing at that woman.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that was interrogated at the time in any way.
No, I don't think so.
On February 2nd, Time magazine writes, which I actually really respect, that this happens on the 2nd of February, 1998. When it comes to women, Clinton has had a lifetime of enablers, not just the friends who egged him on, but also the ones who helped him sidestep accusations. If it takes a village to raise a child, maybe it takes a circle of complicit friends to help a grown man go on acting like a teenager.
Now that's a very insightful comment.
One of the other things that Monica Lewinsky has kind of since spoken out against is the fact that her mother was also deposed in this investigation and therefore was being asked to testify against her own daughter.
Yeah.
And because Monica Lewinsky was 24 and confided in her mom about what was going on, and the Starr investigation offered Monica Lewinsky's mum full immunity because obviously she was open to criminal charges herself because she'd known about the truth of what was happening. And they offered her immunity in the case in exchange for the delivery of the famous blue dress so that they could test it for Bill Clinton's DNA.
Yeah.
I think it's also important to note that other women did come forward over the course of March of that year, including a flight attendant and a former Miss America to claim that they had been groped by Bill Clinton.
Mm-hmm.
One of the really interesting things, I think, is that also writing in 2018, Monica Lewinsky talks about running into Ken Starr at a New York restaurant after attending a carol concert with her family, kind of 2017, 2018. So 20 years after all of these events took place. And she says, "This was the man who had turned my 24-year-old life into a living hell in his effort to investigate and prosecute Bill Clinton on charges that would eventually include obstruction of justice and lying under oath. Lying about having maintained a long-term extramarital affair with me. I turned and introduced him to my family. Bizarre as it may sound, I felt determined then and there to remind him that 20 years before, he and his team of prosecutors hadn't hounded and terrorized just me, but also my family, threatening to prosecute my mom if she didn't disclose private confidences I had shared with her, hinting they would investigate my dad's medical practice and even deposing my aunt, with whom I was eating dinner that night. And all because the man in the hat standing in front of me had decided that a frightened young woman could be useful in his larger case against the President of the United States." Now, in August, Monica Lewinsky testified in front of a grand jury, and she testified in detail about every possible detail about the affair with Bill Clinton. And the transcripts of that grand jury testimony were put online in full when the Starr report was published online. This is happening like as Google is launching for the first time.
Yeah. Well, I guess, yeah, so then it's unprecedented, isn't it? Because like that's never happened before. So you can't really call it out for being inappropriate because people are like, oh, well, like it's the internet, it's new, everyone should be able to see everything.
Dana Bash of CNN said the Monica Lewinsky transcripts were hard to read because they were very detailed step-by-step questions about their sexual encounters. It was largely about a perjury trap. It was also about embarrassing the president, and then the course of it, obviously embarrassing her.
Mm.
The Ken Starr report ultimately was 445 pages long and took up 36 boxes. It had taken 4 years, cost $52 million, and only really mentioned the Whitewater scandal that it was originally supposed to be investigating a handful of times. Ken Starr has defended how thoroughly the Starr report talks in detail about the particularly salacious details by saying that it was important to be thorough.
Mm.
And basically, I think it just entirely lost all sense of what was actually important and just became all about the salacious details rather than about the actual perjury committed by Bill Clinton, which was the actual impeachable offense. It wasn't impeachable that he'd cheated on his wife.
No.
Or how they'd chosen to engage in sexual encounters with each other.
Yeah.
And I think I think it's really interesting when we look at the players in the whole investigation now and where they've ended up. Brett Kavanaugh, who's now famously a Supreme Court justice, was associate counsel to Kenneth Starr. And he was one of the people that was really pushing for the most salacious questions to be asked of Monica Lewinsky. And I'm not going to repeat what those questions are because I think they're immaterial in terms of the specific sexual acts that she engaged in. But he wrote an email to Ken Starr in 1998, Brett Kavanaugh, saying, "After reflecting this evening, I am strongly opposed to giving the president any break in the questioning regarding the details of the Lewinsky relationship. I have tried to bend over backward to be fair to him and to think of all reasonable defenses to his pattern of behavior. In the end, I'm convinced that there really are none. The idea of going easy on him at the questioning is thus abhorrent to me." But of course, they're also asking Monica Lewinsky all of these questions.
Yeah.
Which is then interesting when you consider that when he was being asked about his own sexual misconduct in his confirmation hearing to be a Supreme Court justice, his response was, "This is a grotesque, coordinated character assassination that will dissuade competent and good people of all political persuasions from serving our country. And as we all know, what goes around comes around." Yes, Brett, it does.
Yeah.
You gave it out in 1998, but you couldn't take it.
Oh.
Dana Bash of CNN says, "A lot of the players that became stars, frankly, back in 1998 are still front and center now. The Brett Kavanaugh part of this is really, really interesting because he did encourage Ken Starr, who was his boss, who was the independent counsel looking into Monica Lewinsky, to ask the most salacious questions about their relationship. The shoe was on the other foot during his confirmation process and he didn't like it very much. The irony is pretty real." Needless to say, the long-term impact on Monica Lewinsky as a human being has been intense. She talks a lot about how she's gone to job interviews and she's been unable to work, basically, or be hired in a conventional sense in employment. And it always comes down to an employer saying, you know, because of your history, we don't know that you are the right fit for this role. Even when she's qualified, I mean, she has a master's degree from the London School of Economics, which she's since gone away and gotten. And she talks about having been diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder.
Yeah, that makes sense.
She made it very clear in 2014 that it was a consensual relationship, and what she blames Bill Clinton for was what happened, and Ken Starr for is what happened subsequently, and the way that the fallout of it was handled. But then it's really interesting because she kind of reevaluates in 2018 in the wake of the Me Too movement by saying, "But as I find myself reflecting on what happened, I've also come to understand how my trauma has been, in a way, a microcosm of a larger national one. Both clinically and observationally, something fundamental changed in our society in 1998, and it is changing again as we enter the second year of the Trump presidency in a post-Cosby, Ailes, O'Reilly, Weinstein, Spacey, whoever is next world." The Starr investigation and the subsequent impeachment trial of Bill Clinton amounted to a crisis Americans arguably endured collectively, some of us obviously more than others. And she writes about how the kind of founder of the Me Too movement reached out to her in 2018 to say, "I'm sorry you were so alone," and how like meaningful that was to her. And I think if you look at some of the interviews and some of the writings of Monica Lewinsky in recent years, I think she's saying something really interesting and nuanced about to what extent consent is moot when there's a power imbalance involved, and about how we treat shame and talk about shame, specifically regarding women. And I think she's a really interesting voice that we kind of owe it to listen to, because she had so little agency in the way she was spoken about in a way that altered her life forever. In, again, an investigation that was originally supposed to be about real estate fraud.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And of course she lied in that affidavit. The president of the United States, with whom she thought herself to be in love, was telling her to lie and that everything would be fine.
Yeah. And like I feel like it doesn't matter that it was something that happened 30 odd years ago. It still feels just as relevant now as it did then. And I think, you know, when we're even in the news today, when we're discussing the release of the Epstein files, it does feel like the news cycle is quite wrapped up in the salacious side of all of those stories, and actually the human sort of impact on the young women isn't in the foreground. And what a tough time it must be to be an individual like Monica Lewinsky and some of the other kind of main activists in the Me Too movement who have spoken out about the sexual assaults that they've suffered, to be looking at it happening again. Yeah. You know, thinking that the world should have and would have changed since it was their names that were being splashed across the newspapers. Yeah. It's something that I didn't know a lot about. I mean, we were children when it was happening. And I think obviously I've understood the cultural reference that it has become, but definitely not the kind of the blow by blow of this story. So great study session recommendation.
It's really interesting. Yeah, thank you, David, for suggesting it. I also think it's really interesting that Monica Lewinsky really credits the female journalists of our generation for being the ones who have brought her story back into the fore, in a sense of we need to reevaluate how this young woman was treated.
Yeah.
After she was kind of let down by the women of her own generation in so many ways, and the generation above her.
Mm-hmm.
But we will be back again next week to chat more about the West Wing. We're Queer Gals Watch, wherever you get your socials. We are queergalswatch@gmail.com if you want to get in touch with us about a potential study session, or really anything that you just want to say hey about.
Whatever your heart desires, really.
And we really appreciate everybody who supports us on Queer Gals Watch on Patreon, because it's just fun to chat to you all on Discord. And also because it means that we can kind of financially keep this show going.
Yeah. So Leigh, I will see you next week. I'm really excited to chat about this next episode because it's going to be Thanksgiving.
It's going to be Thanksgiving.
Okay. Well, I will see you next week, Leigh.
See you next week.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.